small plastic card that you, a financial company gives you to borrow money. Borrow. Okay? And you promise to repay it back later. Your debit card, remember, it looks exactly the same. It's also a small plastic card issued by a bank or financial institution. And what it does is it moves, or another fancier way to say that is transfers your money out of your account to whoever you want to pay. So in my scenario, it would transfer my money from my bank, BBVA Compass, to Best Buy when I go buy my TV. Okay? So it's money I already have. So how does a credit card work? Okay, first of all, you have to apply for one. And what they do is they check your credit, which means they look at how responsible have you been with your money. We'll talk about credit reports at a later time. Okay? And once you apply, they'll say, yes, you can, but you have a limit. So you have a limit of how much you can buy. I can't just go out and buy everything I want. Usually it says, Ms. Jacks, you can buy no more than $1,000 worth of stuff. Until I pay that back, then I can borrow another $1,000. Okay? Every month you get a bill sent to you. And it says, hey, you bought a $1,000 TV, we need that money back.
Is there a way to higher or lower how much
you can. A lot of credit card companies, that's a good question. A lot of credit card companies will start you off at a lower limit, like let's say $500 or $1,000. And then if they see that you're responsible paying them on time and that you're paying them back, then they will tend to increase what they call your limit or credit limit. And so they will say you can spend, oh, now you can spend $2,000. Yeah, a typical credit card starts off low and then will slowly increase that over time. They can also go backwards on it. So let's say they say you can spend $3,000, but then you're getting behind, you're not really paying. They might say, ooh, we're going to slow that down. You can now no longer spend more than $2,000. So they could lower your limit as well. If you don't pay a credit card back at all, then that ends up on your credit report, and we'll talk about that right after spring break. So we'll talk about what all that means. But basically, they'll keep wanting you to pay it back, just like any bill if you don't pay it. All right, and then there is something here that is important. They charge interest. Now, interest is a fee that they charge based on how much you've borrowed. So if I borrowed $1,000 for a TV, I'm going to be charged more interest than, let's say, Patrick, who only borrowed $200 for whatever he needed. So it's based on how much you still owe them. Now, I don't pay any of that fee if I can pay back the full $1,000 or whatever I borrowed at the end of the month. Okay? So a debit card, let's talk about how that's different. Basically, you don't have to apply, you don't have to ask for one. You open up a checking account. So you open a checking account. Okay? And used to, they would say, Ms. Jacks, would you like a debit card? Would you like an ATM card? And I could say yes or no. Now they pretty much just hand you one because it's the most convenient way to get your money out of your account. And in this one, you can only spend what's in your checking account. So if I only have $400 in my checking account, that's it. That's all I can spend. So I can only spend what I have. Okay, let's talk about some advantages of both of the cards. On a credit card, you have the ability to build credit history. You could build a good credit history. Now, again, we'll talk about what that credit history is. They have something called a credit score and a credit report, and we'll talk about all those good things after spring break. But right now, we're looking at just that is one of the advantages, is that you could build a good credit history. It also can fall under disadvantages down here at the bottom, that you could build a bad credit history if you're not careful. If you're not careful, if you overspend or you don't use it wisely, I don't want to. If you misuse, how's that? Okay. Another good advantage of a credit card is it's great in case of emergency. Emergency. My car breaks down. The mechanic says I owe $800 to get it fixed. I look at my account. I do not have $800, so I give him my credit card. And then sometimes on some of the credit cards you get rewards. Yay! You may have seen commercials, or maybe you've heard people talking about how they get all kinds of things like airline miles, and you can get cash back. Discover does cash back. Yes?
On that advantage, if they give you a credit card, what if they overcharge
If they overcharge you, you would call them up and just say, hey, you overcharged me. Yeah. So you would, yeah. All right, let's do these last two boxes here. So a debit card. A debit card is super easy to use. I do not carry much cash with me anymore. Used to, if I wanted to go to the grocery store, I needed to make sure I had enough cash on me. I needed to make sure to not spend more than how much cash I had with me. And then, there was always the factor of kind of being afraid. I'm carrying $100 to the store with me. Eek. So this is easy because I've got a card now. It has to have a PIN, and it's super easy to use anywhere I want to go spend money. I want to go get a candy bar from the gas station. I can bring this card and I've got it. All right. Another thing is that if I do lose it, you have to have a PIN to access my money. So if you found, that doesn't look like PIN, it's PIN. I was capitalizing it. And so a PIN, it actually is capitalized. It's personal identification number. So it is actually capitalized. And so that means if you found a debit card on the floor somewhere, you couldn't probably use it because you need the special code. And then this one, you're not going to go into debt. No debt. While on a credit card, it is easier to go into debt. A disadvantage for your debit cards is if you do spend more than you have in the account, a lot of banks will go ahead and pay that one time or two times, but then you incur a fee. So that pretty much the only disadvantage on a debit card is an overdraft, which means you spent more than you had fee. There are fees under a credit card. So I'm back on the credit card side. There are some fees, like there's late fees if you're late paying your bill. And then some cards actually will charge a yearly fee. They call that yearly fee annual. annual fee. And then there's, of course, your interest as well, which is paying back the bank for letting you borrow money. Alright, flip it over. I want you and your partner to figure out 1 through 6. And what you're doing is you're deciding, are they describing a credit account? A debit card or a credit card? Okay, so just put C or D right here. And then after that, go ahead and complete the Venn diagram and figure out what Liam would do.